Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I think we could just start there with an overriding sense from you. Of course, we don't know yet when the elections will be held, but 2019 is general election year. The DA ready overall?
Well, the fact of the matter is, Brad, whether we like it or not, we're in the election cycle, and there's suggestions that we may well be facing an election in October this year. And having a look at the DA's preparation as we enter into the election cycle, it seems to be preoccupied with its own internal battles instead of trying to deal with a new ANC, so to speak, with this new dawn that is being led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It is actually, my view, best encapsulated by a quote that's often used by political analyst Somadot Fikeni at the University of South Africa. The DA, from time to time, finds itself mutilating itself in a corner, unprovoked, and essentially it's talking to the fact that it's having to deal with its own internal squabbles when, especially in the Zuma era of the ANC, it was granted in many instances political manna from heaven in terms of being an opposition party. It was difficult not to look good when the government faced as many challenges as it did in the previous administration. So, Braden, we're going to try and track down Mmusi Maimane today. We attempted to set up a time with his spokesperson yesterday. She's yet to get back to us, but we will be speaking to several political analysts to get the word as to whether or not the DA can not only weather the storm of this own internal squabble that it's facing with a standoff between them and their mayor in Cape Town, Patricia de Lille, but also this idea within the party. There seems to be an internal struggle over transformation, the face of transformation within the Democratic Alliance itself, Dan.
Yeah, and we saw in the recent Federal Congress, they introduced that big thing called diversity, and there's still debates about that. Now, outside the DA, like other opposition parties, just a few months ago, they had an easy target in President Jacob Zuma due to many, many factors. He's out of the scene now. One wonders, what are they going to be really focusing on? We've seen Mmusi Maimane making statements recently as to the extent that President Ramaphosa is no saint, he's not holier than thou.
Well, indeed. I mean, I'm not too sure whether or not the DA is going to try and relook at its strategy in opposition now that we're in this new era of Cyril Ramaphosa. Certainly, nobody is above reproach, and everybody deserves to have their activities and their actions poured over by opposition party politics. However, is it the correct strategy to be using going forward for the DA in this particular electoral cycle? I'll refer to one example. I was at the vote of no confidence against Gauteng Premier David Makura that was brought forward by the Democratic Alliance and supported by the EFF in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. It was 2 months after the Life Esidimeni tragedy in many ways drew to a close, with the arbitration process headed up by former Deputy Chief Justice Dikha Moseneke drew to a close, and of course also months after the medical ombudsman also made his findings. We all of a sudden had this vote of no confidence, and many accuse the DA of just trying to play petty politics as we enter into the electoral cycle. So one wonders whether or not it is going to be a case of, can you teach an old dog new tricks in a new era? Is it going to be a different opposition party going forward? And does Mmusi Maimane have the answers as the leader of the Democratic Alliance? He's, of course, stood criticism over the years about whether or not he's been able to stamp his own authority on the party and build the DA in his own image. He's been very vocal about the fact that we need to deal with things like white privilege in South Africa, and of course also on the other hand black poverty. There was a bit of a seeming kickback from within his own party. So the question remains, can the DA weather its own political storms within its organization while putting on not only a brave face but a very challenging one as we enter the electoral season?